You ever get that email? The one that says your subscription is about to renew at a new price? You squint at the screen, wondering if you misread it. Wait, didn't I just get a price hike 6 months ago? You scroll down. Nope, it's real. HBO Max is raising prices again. And it's not just the ad-free plan. No. Even the ad-supported tier is going up. That's right. You're now paying more to watch ads. Let that sink in. Let's talk about the death of streaming. Not the slow decline, not the quote-unquote changing landscape. I mean the full-blown, bloated Frankenstein's monster collapse of what was once the most promising innovation in home entertainment since the invention of the DVR. Because this latest HBO Max price hike, it's not just a blip, it's a symptom. A symptom of a system that's lost the plot. According to PC Mag, HBO Max just raised prices across the board. The ad-supported plan is now $10.99 a month, up a buck. The standard plan, $18.49 a month, up $1.50. And the premium tier, that's $22.99 a month. That's nearly $276 a year if you're paying monthly. And this is the second price hike in just 18 months. And HBO Max isn't alone. Disney Plus also announced price hikes recently. The timing? Right after they suspended Jimmy Kimmel. Now, this video isn't about the suspension and we're not going to dig into that drama, but let's be honest, even if those price hikes were planned months in advance, announcing them right after a high-profile controversy isn't just bad optics, it's tone deaf. It makes the whole thing feel like a cash grab disguised as business as usual. But this isn't just about HBO Max or Disney Plus. It's about the entire streaming ecosystem. Because once upon a time, streaming was supposed to be the antidote to cable. Remember that? One low monthly fee, no commercials, watch what you want, when you want. It was simple. It was elegant. It was revolutionary. Back in the early 2010s, you had 3 major players: Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime Video. That was it. And honestly, that was enough. Between those 3, you had access to 90 to 95% of the content you actually wanted to watch. Netflix had the movies and the bingeable shows. Hulu had next day TV. And Amazon Prime was just there. Bundled into your Prime membership like a free set of fries. It didn't even need to turn a profit. It was just a perk. And you know what happened? Internet piracy plummeted. People forget this, but piracy was a huge deal in the 2000s. LimeWire, the Pirate Bay, sketchy torrent sites that gave your computer more viruses than a sneeze in a crowded elevator. But when streaming came along, when you could pay $10 a month and get everything you wanted, legally, in HD, without malware, people stopped pirating, because convenience won. But then came the gold rush. By 2018, piracy was back on the rise. Why? Because the streaming landscape had fractured. CBS All Access, now Paramount Plus, Peacock, Apple TV Plus, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and a dozen others all launched their own services. Each with their own exclusive content, each with their own login, each with their own monthly fee. Suddenly, that one-stop shop convenience was gone. You want to watch The Office? Sorry, it's not on Netflix anymore. You'll need Peacock for that. You want to watch That 70s Show? Also on Peacock. But if you want to watch its sequel, That 90s Show, that's on Netflix, boys and girls. So now you're paying for 2 services just to watch one franchise. And it's not just sitcoms. Every service has its crown jewels. Netflix has Stranger Things and Cobra Kai. Amazon has Jack Reacher and Jack Ryan along with The Boys. Apple TV Plus has Ted Lasso. HBO Max has House of the Dragon with Game of Thrones, and all the Discovery shows like Mythbusters, Expedition Unknown. I think Naked and Afraid was Discovery. Anyway, Paramount Plus has Star Trek. Disney Plus has Marvel and Star Wars. And if you're a fan of even 1 or 2 of those shows, congratulations! You're now subscribed to 6 different services. There's now an entire cottage industry of blogs, newsletters, and YouTube channels dedicated to telling you what's leaving which service and where it's going next. It's like trying to track your favorite band across a dozen venues, each with their own ticketing system and cover charge. And people are tired, so they're going back to piracy. Not because they want to, not because they're trying to stick it to the studios or stick it to the man, if you will, but because it's easier, because it's cheaper, because it's less confusing, because the promise of streaming, convenience, affordability, access has been broken. And here's the thing, the industry knows this. They've seen the data. They know that BitTorrent usage is rising again. They know that exclusivity deals are driving people away. But instead of fixing the problem, they're doubling down. More exclusives, more services, more price hikes, and now they're even cracking down on password sharing. So forget splitting the cost with your roommate or your cousin or your ex, that loophole's closing too. Meanwhile, the only streaming services that are actually growing, they're the free ones. Tubi, Pluto TV, the Roku Channel. Tubi alone just hit 97 million monthly active users and over 10 billion streaming hours in 2024. I believe it went up again this year to over 100 million. But why? Because they're free. Sure, you have to sit through ads, but at least you're not paying for the privilege of watching commercials, unlike, say, Netflix's ad-supported tier, or Disney Plus, or HBO Max. And that's where we are now. Paying more, getting less, watching ads, juggling subscriptions, and wondering when exactly streaming turned back into cable. Here's the thing about convenience. Once people get a taste of it, they don't go back. You can't unring that bell. Streaming worked because it was easy. 1 or 2 subscriptions, 1 or 2 apps, 1 or 2 passwords. You could fire up Netflix and find something to watch in seconds. You didn't need to think about where a show was hosted. You didn't need to Google where to stream Breaking Bad. You just watched it. But now you need a spreadsheet. You need a calendar. You need a budget. You need to remember which show is on which service and whether that service is still active, and whether your password still works, and whether you're on the ad-free tier or the one that makes you sit through the same Liberty Mutual commercial 5 times in a row. And that's not convenience. That's friction. That's fragmentation. That's fatigue. It's the same reason people stop buying DVDs. Not because they didn't love movies, but because they didn't want to scroll through 200 plastic cases to find the one disc that wasn't scratched. Streaming solved that, until it didn't. There was also the space issue, having so many DVDs cluttering your shelves versus just relying on streaming services. Even if you backed up your DVD collection to a hard drive, those hard drives only have so much space as well, making streaming the more practical choice for most people. And here's where the Spotify comparison kicks in. Spotify works because it's universal. It's not perfect. It doesn't have every artist, but it has enough that you don't need to think about it. You want to listen to the Beatles? They're there. Taylor Swift? She's there. Metallica? There. You don't need to subscribe to 5 different music services to hear your favorite songs. You just open Spotify and press play. And because of that, music piracy is practically dead. Not gone. It will never be gone. But it's negligible. Because Spotify made it easier to pay than to steal. That's the golden rule of digital media. If you make it easier to pay than to pirate, people will pay. But streaming TV, streaming movies, it's gone the other way. It's now easier to pirate than to pay. Not legally, not ethically, but practically. Because if you want to watch Stranger Things, you need Netflix. If you want to watch The Mandalorian, you need Disney Plus. If you want to watch Star Trek Strange New Worlds, you need Paramount Plus. All these fucking pluses and minuses, good God almighty. Oh, if you want to watch Ted Lasso, you need Apple TV Plus. And if you want to watch all of them, you're looking at over $80 a month. That's $960 a year. And that's before the inevitable price hikes. And what are you getting for that money? Ads, password restrictions, rotating catalogs, shows that get canceled after 1 season but end on a cliffhanger, movies that disappear without warning, and a user experience that's somehow worse than cable. Because at least with cable, you could flip through channels. You could stumble onto something. You could record a show and watch it later, presuming that you had enough space on your DVR or your TiVo. Remember TiVo, kids? Pepperidge Farm remembers. Now, You have to remember which app to open, which profile to use, which show you were halfway through, and whether it's still even available. And if it's not, well, there's always the high seas. Let's be honest, the only reason piracy ever declined was because streaming was better. Not just cheaper, better. More reliable, more convenient, safer. But now, the pendulum is swinging back. Because the sites are still out there. The torrents are still out there. The Plex servers and the streaming mirrors and the Discord links, they're all still out there. And they're getting easier and easier to use. Cleaner interfaces, better curation, no ads, no geo-blocking, no surprise removals, no price hikes, and no, I'm not going to tell you where to find them. I can't, I won't, but you already know they exist. Everyone does. And the more the streaming giants squeeze, the more people slip through their fingers. Let's talk about ads. Because if there's one thing that truly breaks the illusion of value in streaming, it's this. Paying to watch commercials. Think about it. You're subscribed to Netflix's ad-supported tier. You're paying $6.99 a month. I think it's a little higher now. And what do you get? Ads. Not fewer ads. Not skippable ads. Just ads. Same with Disney Plus. Same with Paramount Plus. Same with HBO Max. You're paying them to advertise to you. And that's not just frustrating. It's insulting. You're paying Netflix and Disney and Paramount for the privilege of them bending you over the barrel and shoving ads up where the sun don't shine into you, whether you want them to or not. At least Tubi, Pluto TV, and the Roku Channel don't charge you for that privilege. They're upfront about it. They say, we're free, you'll get ads, but you won't pay a dime to watch any of our stuff. And people respect that. Because if you're going to sit through ads, at least don't charge me for it. That's the bare minimum. That's the baseline. That's the ethical floor. And yet, the premium services can't seem to grasp that. They want it both ways. They want your money and your attention. They want your subscription and your data. They want to be cable, but with worse UX and fewer channels. This dual demand strains the trust viewers once had, creating a tension that's hard to ignore. That's where the goodwill starts to crack, because people will only tolerate so many ads and so many ad breaks. Okay? Try watching YouTube on your Roku or your phone or your tablet. It's virtually unwatchable without YouTube Premium. One ad break every 3 to 5 minutes. Sometimes 2 ads, sometimes 5, sometimes 10, and if you think I'm joking, I ain't. If you're watching a longer video, forget it. You're getting interrupted constantly. It's like trying to read a book where someone slaps the pages out of your hand every few minutes. And that's when the ad blockers get turned on, at least on desktop. Even if the frequency of ad breaks is normal, like what you'd expect on basic cable or broadcast, the number of ads per break is another beat entirely. You want to cram 9 or 10 ads into one break? Go fuck yourself. I don't care if it's free. I don't want to sit through 6 or 7 minutes of ads just to watch a half-hour show like The Girls Next Door or Gilligan's Island. That's not a break. That's a punishment. And if I'm watching a movie, then I really don't want that movie interrupted every 15 to 20 minutes with ad breaks that last 5 to 7 minutes. That's not pacing. That's sabotage. That's turning a 90-minute film into a 2.5-hour slog. And for what? To sell me car insurance and fast food? So yes, free streaming services are growing, but they're walking a tightrope. Because the moment they push too far, too many ads, too many interruptions, too much friction, people will bounce. People will block. People will pirate. Because the truth is, the streaming wars didn't end in victory. They ended in exhaustion. And the only winners of this whole shish kebab? The pirates, the aggregators, the Plex curators, the ones who said, you know what? I'll just build my own Netflix with handbrake and no ads. And no, I'm not advocating for piracy. I'm not endorsing it. I'm not romanticizing it. I cannot endorse it legally. But I am acknowledging it because it's real. It's growing and it's a direct response to the failures of the industry. If streaming wants to survive, really survive, it needs to remember what made it great. Simplicity, affordability, accessibility, trust. It needs to stop chasing quarterly growth and start rebuilding user goodwill. It needs to consolidate. It needs to collaborate. It needs to stop punishing loyalty and start rewarding it. Because right now, streaming is dying. Not because people don't love content, but because they're tired of being nickeled and dimed for it. Tired of being interrupted. Tired of being upsold. Tired of being treated like a wallet instead of a viewer. And if the industry doesn't change course soon, the next golden age of entertainment won't be on Netflix or Hulu or HBO Max. It'll be on a Plex server, in someone's basement, shared through a Discord link, with no ads, no fees, and no apologies.